Hey friend, listen, if you're stepping into a new year and you're feeling the pressure to figure everything out, this is your reminder and an invitation to pause. Before you set your goals, make your plans, decide what's next, what if you chose connection before direction? I created a free reflection guide called Connection Before Direction to help you slow down, reconnect to what matters, and notice what you may be carrying out of habit, not alignment. This isn't a planner or a reset or a resolution. It's a calm, intentional pause designed for high achieving women just like you who want 2026 to feel different, not just look different. You can download the free guide right now at martinewilliams.com/connect. That's martinewilliams.com/connect. Because clarity doesn't come from pushing harder, it comes from reconnecting first. Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this. Well, hey friends, welcome back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. I am your host, Martine Williams, and today we're going to be talking about something that quietly impacts every relationship that you have, whether you realize it or not. And the inspiration for this episode came from me preparing for a team scan experience. So I don't talk about this a lot on the podcast or really anywhere. I don't promote it a lot, but I do have the ability to work with teams as well, utilizing the ProScan to help you to see your personal insights from a ProScan and then collectively as a team. So I was asked to come into a corporate office and run the personal ProScans for each team member, and then also be able to share what are the dynamics of the team, or in other words, what's the culture of the team, and where are our strengths, where are our opportunities, what are our communication styles. Like, it's really fun to see in real time the culture of a team, and then put that side by side with the goals of the team, or where are those maybe friction points in the team that we want to cultivate better communication, cultivate better leadership, cultivate better performance for the team overall. And so as I was preparing for this experience, and sometimes the team is a husband and wife, so I can do a side-by-side scan as well, which is really beneficial for couples. But in preparation for this, one of the things that is really important for the team is that you understand what your personal dynamics are. So before I can really share with this team what the culture of the team is, they have to understand and be on board with who they are, right? And how they impact the team individually. So I think as I was thinking and preparing for this, I was thinking about marriages. I was thinking about parenting. I was thinking about business owners who have maybe a team that they're leading. And whether you realize it or not, understanding what makes you, like how you're wired, how you process, how you respond under pressure, how you communicate, how you lead, how you love, how you parent, like it makes a difference, whether you realize it or not. It impacts every relationship that you have. Because whether you're leading a team, working in corporate, building a business, married, parenting, or just simply trying to coexist with other humans, we're always in relationship. And relationships become heavy when we don't understand ourselves first. So I just want you to think about this. How well do you know yourself? How well do you know your own wiring? Do you understand why you do the things that you do the way you do them? Do you understand why you see the world as you see it? Because you don't see the world as it is. You see it as you are. And most conflict isn't caused by bad intentions. It's caused by different wirings and different dynamics individually when we come together. So we all have different ways of processing. We all have different needs, different values, different speeds, and different emotional styles. But when we don't understand how we are wired, we assume they're being difficult, they're wrong, they're lazy, they don't care, they should just, you fill in the blank there. What we're really saying is, they're not like me. So understanding what makes you you gives you language for why you react the way you do, why certain situations drain you. I was just having a conversation with one of my clients last week about this. She has really low pace in her personality, which means she likes to move quickly. And in entrepreneurship, there are seasons where things aren't moving quickly. When you're developing skill sets, you're developing your messaging, you're developing certain processes of the business. And so it requires a slowdown. And she's kind of in that place. And she was very frustrated and she was feeling very drained by it. So we went back to her ProScan and I reminded her that your natural pace is quick. And so anytime you have to slow down, it's going to drain you, right? So understanding like why certain environments energize you and why some drain you, why some conversations exhaust you, why certain people feel easy to be around while others feel hard. Self-awareness is not self-absorption, it's leadership. When you understand yourself on a level that the ProScan provides for you, your unique personality blueprint will provide for you, it changes the game. Because awareness reduces friction everywhere. When you understand how you're wired, you stop personalizing everything, you stop assuming intent, and you stop making every difference a problem. And something powerful really happens in that moment. You start honoring the differences instead of fighting them. You start valuing the differences of others. You start just really understanding the differences of others because now you understand who you are. And this impacts business and teams. Like some people process externally. I have some clients, like they just love coming to our coaching every week because they get a lot of value out of having a thought partner to process things externally. But other people process internally, and that can be perceived as a problem for some of us. Some move fast, some move carefully, some value harmony, and some value directness. And here's what I've learned after years of coaching leaders and teams and women in business is that the best teams aren't built on sameness. They're built on when people are truly understood, when they're valued, when they're developed, and when they're empowered. When leaders don't understand this, they create tension that doesn't need to exist. But when they do, communication improves, team trust deepens, because you think about it, if someone feels understood, they can trust you with who they are. They don't feel like they have to be someone they're not on a regular basis. Performance rises because they're able to just be who they are and they know how they contribute to the team. Now, again, team, I'm using that word loosely because I want you to think about team as a couple, team as a family with your kids, a team if you do have a team. But when people stop feeling like they have to become someone else just to belong and they can just be them in the marriage, it's amazing. In the parenting, in with your children, it's amazing. It creates a different environment. In your marriage, you're not married to a clone. Like my husband and I are very different on some things and very similar on others. But he's not wrong because he thinks differently, or I'm not wrong because I think differently. We're different because we're wired differently. And when you really understand yourself on this level, again, it just allows you to honor and respect those differences. And your marriage grows stronger when both of you feel understood, when both of you feel valued in your strengths and in your gifts that you bring to the relationship, when both of you feel developed, which is our responsibility individually and collectively, and when you feel empowered, right, to be in your power and show up as you are. not when you feel managed. If you're in a marriage and you're feeling like you're being managed, fixed, or corrected into sameness, that creates friction, that creates tension, that doesn't create trust. So when your partner feels seen for who they are, not who you want them to be, safety increases. And safety changes how people show up. In parenting, in motherhood, your child is built differently, most likely. It's amazing how both of my kids are completely different. And I've done a ProScan on both of them. And I'm like, how can you be from the same person and be so different? But when we parent like they're supposed to be like us, everyone loses, right? Because they're not us. And what I have learned in parenting is that children thrive when they, again, the same words, when they're understood, when they're valued, when they're developed, and when they're empowered to be who God called them to be who God created them to be. Not when we compare them to another sibling or we compare them to another family, not molded into who we think they should be, and not pressured into someone else's wiring. And honestly, I've been guilty of all of those things as a mom. And the more I understood myself and the more I sought to understand my child in that way, connection was greater and continues to get greater as now they're growing into adulthood. Understanding how each one of them is wired doesn't lower my standard as a parent. It just raises the connection, right? And connection improves behavior far more than control ever will. I've tried the control route. It doesn't end well for the most part, especially as they get older and they're coming into their own. But what I want you to hear also with this is your wiring is not an excuse. And this part is really important. This is where people will say, well, this is just the way I am. And maybe you've said that before. No shame, judgment here. But your strengths, your talents, and your gifts are not an excuse for bad behavior. Being direct as a gift is not permission to be cruel. Being driven is not permission to be dismissive of other things. Being emotional is not permission to be reactive. Being logical is not permission to be cold. So personality is a gift, behavior is a choice. When my mentor said that to me when I was being certified in the ProScan, like that really hit. Because it is, personality is such a gift, and you have so many amazing dynamics of your personality that are gifts and talents and will serve in the ways that you want to impact. But what you do with them, your behavior is a choice. You don't get to hide behind how you're wired. You get to lead with it responsibly. Quick pause. If you've been listening and you're ready to stop performing your life and start leading it, if you know you're ready to feel better now, not later, and you're ready for support that actually creates sustainable transformation, I have private one-on-one coaching spots open. And inside this coaching, in Illuminate You coaching, we don't guess. We use your unique personality blueprint built from the science-backed personality and performance tool called the ProScan, the one you've heard me talk about here in the podcast. This is used so that every decision, every boundary, every shift is designed specifically around your wiring, not someone else's. This is my aligned success method. It's not hacks. It's not try harder. It's not mindset glitter. It's a real solution. It's rooted in science, strategy, and your unique design. So you can lead your life as the woman you actually are, not the woman others expect you to be. Now is the time. Take the step. Book your clarity call at martinewilliams.com/clarity. All right, back to the episode. So maturity is knowing this is how I'm wired, and I'm still responsible for how I show up. Because especially in a team dynamic, whether it be parenting or marriage or in a real team atmosphere, you want to know how you're naturally wired. You want to know what your strengths are you bring to the table, but you also, in honoring the differences of others, is okay, this person has these gifts and these talents. How can I meet them where they are? And when both are mutually doing that, mutually respecting each other in their strengths, mutually trying to meet them in their communication style, which is something that the ProScan will show you, mutually meeting in the middle with their energy style and energy levels, it creates such a different culture in that relationship, because you cannot control other people's personalities, their triggers, their history, their tone, their choices, their growth, but you can control your thoughts, your words, your actions, your boundaries, and your reactions. So growth always starts here. And it starts with this question: how am I showing up in this relationship? How am I showing up as a member of the team? Not how do I fix them? If they would show up like this, right? We can't control any of those things. And the interesting thing about the one-on-one work that I do with my clients is, as they come into their empowered state of who they are and they understand how they're wired, it does increase the connection, and the other people in their life notice the difference. That they're no longer trying to manage the other person, fix the other person. They're so focused on their own and showing up how they need to show up for themselves and for the rest of the family or the rest of the team, that it just brings a self-awareness and a respect for the other people. It's almost like a byproduct of that, which is really, really powerful. And it's way more energizing to let go of that micromanaging of other people or the codependency on how can I get them to do what I want them to do and how do I fix them. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence is the foundation of influence, right? So why this work changes everything is when you understand what makes you, you, it reduces conflict because you're so aware of how you operate and the difference of the other person, improves your communication. Communication is literally the breakdown of every relationship comes from communication breakdown. It increases your patience, it strengthens your leadership, it deepens the intimacy, it builds better teams, creates calmer homes, and helps you to stop repeating the same relationship patterns. It gives you language instead of labels. We have to be really careful with the labels that we call ourselves: lazy or perfectionist or procrastinator. The actions, the behaviors might be true, but let's not label ourselves as those things, because last time I checked, that doesn't feel good to label yourself any one of those things. So when you understand your wiring, it gives you language instead of labels, strategy instead of frustration. Like, why am I operating this way? Why is this harder for me? There's a lot of frustration in that. So you have a strategic blueprint now for who you are and how you're going to behave in certain situations under pressure. And so you understand it. You understand the strategy on how to work with your wiring versus against it. And then you have choice instead of reaction. Every one of us has that choice instead of reaction. But when you understand yourself, you can have better self-control and you can have better choices made based on your own dynamics. And most importantly, it gives you responsibility without shame. You stop saying, this is just how I am, because that might feel good in the moment. This is just how I am, but it doesn't change the situation for most people. So you can begin to say, this is how I'm wired, and I choose how I lead. So in this situation, this is how I'm wired, and I'm going to show up to meet this person where they are. And when you understand your personality, and when you have this data in front of you with the ProScan, like the most empowering piece of this is understanding the energy that is going to be required to show up differently than how you're wired. Because that's going to happen. We're not going to show up in perfect conditions all the time where we're all in alignment with our strengths. So it's not that that's the goal. That's not even the goal. When I talk about alignment, it's not even the goal that you're operating from your natural strengths 100% of the time. It's understanding how you're wired so you can manage your energy around when you need to make adjustments. So you get to choose how you're going to lead, not just this is just how I am. When you say this is just how I am, it almost feels like there's no room for change. And it's like this stuck feeling. This is just how I am. Nothing's ever going to change because this is how I am. It's a very fixed mindset. If you haven't read the book Mindset, it talks about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is this is just the way it is. I can't make any changes. My effort won't make any difference. There's no skill sets that I can develop that will change this. A growth mindset is all about the possibility and all about the growth. And for some of us, the growth is growing in our knowledge of who we are and how we're naturally wired. And that's powerful. It's really powerful when you tap into that. So as we wrap up, you don't need to become someone else. You need to understand who you already are, because that impacts your relationships. That impacts your communication. That impacts how you lead, how you show up on the team. Again, whether the team is in your home, the team is in a corporate job, the team is in your entrepreneurship, and maybe you have an assistant or some other people that are working for you. When you understand who you are already, that's where the power lies, because you learn to lead from that place with awareness and responsibility and respect for the differences of other people on the team. Because every relationship that you care about gets better when you get clearer. It starts with you, just like with this team that I'm getting ready to go in and provide this team experience for. If they don't understand their unique strengths and stressors and dynamics, the team dynamics is irrelevant. They have to understand where they are and how they impact the team individually before we can talk about culture and collectively. So the same goes for you, and that's kind of where this episode content was inspired from. But I want you to think about it. It always starts with you. It always starts with you. And if this is intriguing to you and you haven't heard of the ProScan before, it is a personality and performance assessment. It's been around for 40 years, almost 50 years now, and it's 98% accurate. And I can tell you from the data from my clients, every single one of them is just blown away at how accurate it is, and the level of like what they do with that information is very different than some of the other assessments that they've done. So it's the foundation of the coaching, whether it's one-on-one or group or team experience. It's the foundation of everything that I do, because that's where we have to start with. You understanding you on a level that allows you to be responsible and aware and respect other people for their differences. So if that's resonating with you and you're like, this is like the missing tool in my toolbox, is really understanding how I'm wired, or maybe like because of motherhood and entrepreneurship, like you've kind of lost who you are. That was part of my story. I've shared that here on the podcast before. I lost part of myself in pursuit of success. I forgot who I was and what my strengths were. And honestly, I was downplaying my strengths and highlighting my weaknesses. And that just doesn't work well for your joy and your fulfillment and your peace and your success. So I help moms and entrepreneurs and small business owners like build meaningful businesses without sacrificing who you are. So we start here first in the coaching. And if you're interested or you're curious or you're just like, I need some clarity around this, I always offer a clarity call. It's completely free. It's 1 hour. I had one yesterday, and we were really able to dive into some things that she did not see that were blocks for success as a business owner. So you can go to martinewilliams.com/clarity. It is the first step for you. It could be your next step that sets up the rest of the year, is just having someone to talk through where you're at, where you want to go, and then help you to see a simple, doable process to get you there. So I would love to meet you there on the Clarity Call. I do have some Turquoise Talk guests coming back. I haven't had guests on the show in a few months, but I'm ready to bring them back on. So we'll be having those on our Thursday episodes again very soon in February. So stay tuned for those. But I've had a lot to say, and I feel like the podcast is the best place for me to kind of share all the things that I'm learning and all the things that I think will impact you. So thank you for tuning into all of these solo episodes we've had over the last few months. I hope you've enjoyed them, and I can't wait to bring some amazing guests back on the show for you. And until then, I'm believing in you always, and I'll catch you on our next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.